Go ahead.
Hey,
Sam,
Chad.
Mark?
Did you advise them on the pink T-shirts?
They look good on.
They may
don't
want to
look good on
rethink
Sam.
their-
They don't look good on Sam.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm on yet. Am I on? Yes, I'm on. Here we go. Firstly, thank you, folks. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Cheese. But appreciate you all. The second that the bars are open at Wreckfest, it's like nearly 3 o'clock and you've decided to come and sit in this shaded tent without a drink in your hands, and you work in talent acquisition at the moment. So yeah, massive shout out for you coming to join this talk. I'm going to do a short introduction. I'm Sam, VP of Talent Solutions at hackajob. Before that, I spent a long time building and working and setting up Wreckfest for 7 years. So it's always great to tread the boards when I'm here. But I'm not going to be doing most of the talking today. I'm going to be handing it over to Mr. Mark Harman. So I'll give you an intro, sir.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, I'm Mark. I work at Wise. If you've not heard of Wise, they're a global technology company. We're building the best way to move and manage the world's money. So we've got around 8,000 Wisers from 125 different nationalities across 11 of our key global locations. 18.9 million global customers, active customers, and they're moving around 61 billion US dollars each quarter. Our recruitment team at Wise is roughly 120 people. We're making around 3,000 hires a year. And my role at Wise is to lead the recruitment operations and the transformation team. So, recruiter enablement and operations, we are the central hub. We are the team that look after the recruiting engine. So we don't make any hires ourselves. What we do is we look after the tooling, our tech stack, all of our process, all of our data and operations, and we now have an innovation team looking at new tools, new technology, and how we can improve the experience for recruiters, for hiring managers, and for our candidates as well. So all in all, what we do is more with less. We improve the quality, we improve conversions, consolidate tools, and focus on that experience. So one of the big challenges that we have is that there is a huge volume of applications. I'm sure everyone here is facing that problem. Our applications have gone up over 40% year on year, so we're well over 600,000 applications a year now. And our conversion from application stage through to the first interview, which is with a hiring manager, is roughly 3.5%. So another way of saying that is that the recruiters and the recruitment team filter out 96% of candidates that apply, which is a huge, huge volume, 580-odd thousand-ish candidates that don't get to that stage where recruiters are spending so much time just to reject people that aren't quite right for us. So this is where AI and tooling comes in, and I'm sure you may have seen this on LinkedIn. Hands up anyone who knows what at least 20 of these companies do. That's pipeline for future people in my team, thank you. Because I probably don't, I'll be honest. There's a new tool coming every other week. I have recruiters knocking down the door saying, I've seen this new tool, we've seen this new agent, we want to trial this. And it's all well and good wanting to trial a new tool or a new AI innovative solution, but it's not quite as easy as just saying, I want to trial this and it gets switched on, right? There's quite a long process that you need to go through for that to happen and happen compliantly. So we've got the business case, the procurement, all of the budget, security sign-off, privacy. We've got the technical design of the system, the onboarding and training, the everybody's favorite piece, the change management, because notoriously recruiters love change. That's definitely one thing I've learned in my role over the last 7 years. And they also love having a million different logins and a million different tabs to switch between when they're just trying to do their job. Right, so this is how a new tool normally lands on the team. It's a really long process, it's quite arduous, and it's not straightforward. So when it comes to saying we want to try a new tool, it's one more tool, but we've already got an ATS, CRM, sourcing, job boards, scheduling, assessment, video interviews, background checks, analytics, the calendar management side of things as well. So that tab fatigue and context switching between different tools and different systems, different logins, even if it's single sign-on, it's a new icon to click on every time, can be quite painful for the team. So actually what we've done, we've partnered with hackajob and Archer, and personally partnered with Sam to get this live. I was asked by a recruiter to do a demo with Sam, and transparently, I was like, I'll do the demo, but this is another AI solution. let's do the spiel. But actually, Sam kind of hit the nail on the head with me, because what I wasn't looking for is something where you need to go through that arduous long pipeline to get something on board. I wanted something that would solve a problem and that would be able to get done quickly and trial really, really quickly. And this is where Archer comes in.
And in terms of what Archer is, because we kind of got 10 minutes into the talk and not really covered what the tool is that we're going to be talking about the results from. So Archer invites passive candidates to apply to your positions at scale. And these are the candidates that are not being reached through other channels. And so even at organizations that are surfacing millions and millions of applications per year, the direct number, the main thing that we care about is net new unique. Are we able to surface and reach candidates that you otherwise can't? And the first part of how that works is we're reaching out to a passive audience. Most tools are indexing for inbound and active candidates. The second part, and probably more crucially, is candidates themselves are matching to the positions. This isn't just employers that are saying, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for. This is candidates saying, this is what I want in my next position. And they're being surfaced jobs, maybe 5 or 10 instead of hundreds. If they're a candidate that's in high demand, they're working at an OpenAI or an Anthropic, and they're a machine learning engineer, you can only imagine the sheer volume of messages that they're getting inside of their LinkedIn inbox. Actually, what we do is we really bring that noise down for candidates, and we show them jobs that they otherwise might not have considered. And so, in turn, you're then getting that net new unique. We've got a natural and fundamental filter against fraudulent candidates and fake profiles, because the model is the other way around. And so candidates, as opposed to being approached or applying for a position and creating a different version of themselves to match your role. I'm sure we saw this last talk that was in here today. I'm sure you've seen plenty of this out there in the field of candidates leveraging AI in order to match themselves to a position. You scratch beneath the surface and you realize they don't have those credentials. On our side, a candidate makes one verified, vetted profile, and then they see roles. And that structural difference, although small, makes a considerable difference down funnel when we think about interview conversion. So that's Archer in a nutshell, and I promise not too much pitching from us, because Mark, really.
The context is really helpful. So what we actually did, there was no change program, there was no integrations. We didn't even tell the recruiters. There are a couple in the room. We didn't even tell the recruiters this was happening. I spoke to the leads and said, do you want to trial this? They said yes, and away we went. So it took 2 to 3 hours of a demo and me and Sam talking to get this live. No sign-off, no nothing needed. We actually joked as well, it took longer for us to pull the data for this presentation and put this presentation together than it did for the whole system to go live.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2 to 3 hours tops from demo through to us actually being fully live. So yeah.
And you'll see at the tail end some of the logos which we've done the same process with. Obviously on the right-hand side there, it might be your left-hand side actually. I'm looking at it on this screen. But the credentials that we have, we've been enterprise ready for a long time. We've been operating for a decade, helping enterprise organizations hire. But actually those credentials are not as important in the context of Archer, because in the first instance, we're not consuming any of your data. This is a read-only feed that we can access ourselves with your publicly available jobs data. The candidate is taking the decision, and we've been talking a lot about this within talent acquisition, about the human remaining within the loop and how important that is in terms of decisioning. But actually, the decision sits with the candidate. It's analogous with applying for a job on LinkedIn or applying for a job on Indeed. They are then following your typical governance process because they're going through your ATS, they're hitting all of the questions that they need to hit as part of your governance process. And critically, at the end of that, recruiters don't need to log into a tool for that to happen. And you don't need to run that change management program. We've been working with organizations that have thousands of recruiters, and they don't need to go through that process which you were describing, which is often the single most painful part of bringing a new technology on board.
And you're probably wondering, for a technology that was that easy and that quick to implement, like, is it providing results? And the short answer is yes. So a third of the roles that we've got at the moment is converting at over a 20% application to screen. There's roughly between a 2 and 5x uplift in conversion versus our other channels that we use. The application to hire, and I surprised Sam with this earlier, it was 9%. We've actually made 2 hires between when we pulled the data and this presentation. One of them a senior go-to-market role, one of them a senior product compliance role. So the bottom numbers are actually considerably better than that. But even at a 9% application to hire on 1.5 offers a week, we were still on a good run rate.
And then we think about, like, what's the role of talent acquisition? What's the role of a recruiter in this kind of changing dynamic, and what that setup should look like? Because I think we've seen a lot today around, we don't want to just be processing thousands and thousands and thousands of applications. We want to add human value to the process. And so the way we think about it is really in 3 key areas. The first piece is, because we have thousands of jobs live on the platform, the moment that a new position goes live, we've got real-time salary data, real-time market data, and real-time employer data that says this position that you've put live in the far corners of the country, where you're looking for 15 must-have requirements and you're putting £30,000 below the market rate. Well, let's equip you to go and have a conversation with a hiring manager with real, tangible data to say, this is why this role is not going to work. They might still say no, but at least you've gone with the data. We then have candidate data, and this tends to be one of the most fascinating outcomes of what we're working with, because we have the breakdown of people's background, their experience, their salary expectations, their work preferences, everything to do with them as an individual. We can then play back why candidates don't want to work for your brand. So if you've got a target group of employers and people are saying, I want the best engineers, I want the best account executives, I want the best fin crime people in the world, and I want them from these 12 organizations, we can tell you in real time, the candidates from those organizations don't want to work for you, and this is the reason why, which was one of the big insights, as you can see from the bottom there with Wise. Actually, product roles saw a really high candidate decline rate. GTM roles saw a really different one. We won't go into the exact vernacular for the sake of protecting their data, but really, really key distinction. And then the final part, and probably one of the most important when we think about how we partner with organizations, is the actual data on your side. It's great, and we can celebrate, moving to 1.6 offers a week, but we want to continue to get better, continue to drive that candidate experience and recruiter experience, and see how can we improve the conversion in the roles that aren't performing as well. What can we do to move those ones forward? And that's where the ATS and the recruiter data becomes super valuable. And that then becomes the role of the recruiter. What is it about the candidates that you're being served by Archer that doesn't work? And then set Archer off with what does work. And that's really the setup.
So Sam touched on it a little bit about the role of a recruiter from here. So as we've already said, there's been 0 recruiter involvement from up until this point. Recruiters have just seen a better pipeline coming in. So the next sort of things that the recruiters could be focused on and should be focused on is advising on role design. So using that market data that we pull back from hackajob to step in with the hiring manager and adjust and tweak things slightly. Tuning the positioning and the brand, so using the candidate sentiment to work with those teams who own that employer brand. And then fix what's not converting, so focus on the stuff where we're not doing quite so well to try and turn it into more of a positive. So the recruiter's moving from processing the volume that we spoke about earlier on with this 96% decline rate to advising the business and spending their time on bigger value-add opportunities versus the transactional stuff. And now is the point where we're going to start to bring the team in. So whereas we've not had any input from recruiters before, now we're going to start bringing them in to slightly tweak the outreach and who we're appealing to. We're aiming to go from 1.6 to 4 offers a week, although we should probably check those numbers again. And we really want to focus on product and go-to-market, which bizarrely is the 2 hires that have been made in the last week since we put this presentation together. So it's good to see that that's working already. And the year ahead for Wise is just continued growth. We're likely to have yet another record hiring year. And there's going to be a continued investment into both people and our tooling to drive efficiencies with our hiring process.
Yeah. And I think, kudos to Mark and team. I think if you don't have somebody that is owning recruitment operations, recruitment enablement, someone that's looking deeply at the data inside your organization, that is a skill which you either want to gain yourself or you want to bring into your team. I think the phrase talent engineering is going to continue to appear in our ecosystem. People are trying to define that as a new role, but it's almost inevitable that it comes within that space. And that's what's made this really easy in terms of passing that data data backwards and forwards to allow us to make those change. And now we can be intentional about engaging the team. And I think that's the real distinction. This isn't a blanket, we need to onboard every single recruiter and get them to log in each week and really push and probe and go through all of that pain which you typically do. It's let's use the data, understand what's not working, and then connect directly with the recruiter and say, hey, this role's not working. They're like, yeah, I know. This is like my most annoying role at the moment, and this is the problem with it, and this is what I'm trying to do. Let's equip them with data. Let's equip them with what they need to kind of make that change. And just to close out, and kind of from our setup, this is not a flash-in-the-pan type of organization. We're not a new startup out of the box. We've been supporting enterprises at scale for a decade. But you'll notice that, as Chad touched on, we've changed pretty much from hackajob to Archer in the last 2 years, as this has really taken off for us as a new agentic capability, working with a range of organizations, some incredible logos. And if you want to go live in days rather than weeks with something agentic that is safe, that doesn't touch your data, you can scan that QR code, anybody can get free access, and that's the way that we roll.
All right, big applause, guys. Good job.
Thank you.